So our subject for today is about how to use importance and confidence rulers and a little bit of thought about how we support our service users with problem solving. So the overall aim is that after the session, you should be able to assess importance and confidence in the context of a dietetic consultation. Hopefully that'll come a bit clearer as we go through. So you should be able to support a service user to explore how important their diet or lifestyle change is to them and to identify what might help to make that change more important, which increases the chance they're going to be motivated and able to make change. Similarly, supporting a service user to explore how confident they are in making their dietary and lifestyle change and what would increase that confidence. And that's where the problem solving links, because often there is a problem that is decreasing confidence. So then we're going to support our service user to problem solve and increase the likelihood of them making that diet or lifestyle change and sustaining it, which is a major part of what dietetic practice is all about. So when might we be using these kinds of tools? These kinds of tools are they come from the world of motivational interviewing. That's where they kind of appeared from. So it's logical, therefore, to assume that they are going to be useful when there is a lack of motivation or if we're not sure what's going on. So they are quite useful when people are perhaps a bit reluctant to change. Some of the things that you've brought up over the last few weeks, if they're a bit uncertain about change or lacking in confidence, not knowing where to start. There's all these changes I need to make in order to manage my diabetes. Where do I start? Also for those people who've tried to change before and failed. And that could be some of those people with long-term conditions who appear to understand the condition but still haven't managed to make change. And those who are coming up with the reasons why they can't change. Well, yes, I could, but. So if you're getting yes, but, there is a resistance to change there for some reason. Sometimes people are just stuck. They're in this area that they call ambivalent. So they want to change, but they don't seem to be able to do it. So there are forces going from either direction. Yes, I want to, no, I don't. Yes, I want to, no, I don't. People get stuck in the middle. And part of our role is to help them become unstuck. So all of these reasons people aren't making progress with their change. And using these tools can help us identify what the barriers are. So how might we introduce the idea? One of the most important things for us to do is to acknowledge the struggle that our service users are having. Offer them some reassurance. We talked last week about praising them for what they do know, affirming their correct understanding. So we need to reassure, and this is where all your reflective listening skills come in, your active listening, your paraphrasing, reflection of feelings, and summarising. So that's our starting point. And then I've just given you here a few sentences that might be helpful to use. So it sounds as if you're really struggling with the idea of making changes at the moment. So you're acknowledging what that person is struggling, finding it difficult. And then looking a little bit about the spotting the difference. We've spent some time comparing your diet with the recommendations. And I've identified some areas of change which might help you to manage your condition, but you're finding it difficult to know where to start. So you can see this is picking up and building on what we looked at last time. Although you recognise the need for changes in your lifestyle to manage your diabetes, you seem to be a bit overwhelmed and not sure what to do. Is that right? Or it's not unusual for people to struggle when they have a new diagnosis. There's a lot to take in. And I think that's something we really need to acknowledge, that there is a huge amount of information for people to take in, particularly if they're not familiar with the conditions. So we really need to demonstrate empathy and understanding of that situation for the patient. So what might the problems be? A common cause for a service user feeling that diet change isn't important is they really don't have that clear understanding of the role of diet in managing their medical condition. So that's where the explanations that we've been looking at are so important, and linking symptoms and management of the condition to dietary change. So that's where that explanation comes, the EPPE, elicit, permission, provide, elicit. So we're building on that and using that again. Common reasons for lack of confidence could be barriers, and we're going to look a little bit more about those in the session. Previous negative experiences of trying to change. So they've tried, they've failed for some reason or another, and that just decreases confidence. It decreases self-esteem as well. So we may be in the business of building self-esteem. So we can offer to explore the situation. That's our next step. And this is where the importance and confidence rulers come in. So I wonder if it might be helpful to explore further what's affecting your decisions at the moment. Would that be helpful? Acknowledging the difficulty. It's common for people to struggle with change, as many of us have lots of other important things going on in our lives that make it difficult. I wonder if you'd like to discuss that further. Or if we're looking at just describing the importance ruler, if we consider importance of making a dietary change at the moment for you, where 0 is not at all important and 10 is the most important thing in your life, what number would you choose? And then some follow-up questions, and the follow-up questions are the most important thing. Just coming up with a number is no help whatsoever. That's not a good use of these tools. But the follow-up is the important bit. If they've come up with 7, that's good. So there is some importance there. You're recognizing some importance. But I wonder, is there anything else that would make it higher or closer to 10? What was it that made you didn't choose a lower number? So that can build on people's importance and their motivation. We can understand what their motivations are. So it's just kind of ways that we can introduce these tools to help the person explore what's going on. If we're looking at confidence, this usually comes when a goal has been set or where you've been discussing goals. So for example, it's just the same kind of way of asking something. We've agreed that your first goal is going to be on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is not at all confident and 10 is totally confident. Where would you put yourself in relation to meeting this goal? Is there anything we can do to increase that confidence? And this is really important because sometimes people will come with a high number and suggesting that, yeah, I can do that. And we may need to help them think through how difficult that might be. So they may have come up with something that, is actually quite challenging and not thought through when there's going to be problems with meeting that. So this is where we have to help them to be realistic about the challenges that they're facing and then help them to problem solve. Let's just think a little bit about what problem solving means. The key thing, first thing, what is the problem? And that's where the importance and confidence will be able to tell us some of the difficulties that person might be facing. And it's important that we get a thorough understanding of what the problem is. So let's explore it. Could you tell me more about that? So that you're getting a really good understanding. And then you're going to want to paraphrase or summarize that back to them to ensure that you've got the picture of what the problem is. So then you would be using your open questions to encourage them to consider the problem and produce solutions for themselves, ideally. So is there anything that you can do to change that situation? Anything you could do differently? So just get people to try and think through, well, actually, maybe I could do this or that. So it's their solutions, not yours. But there will be times when people just simply have not got a clue of what to do or how to overcome the challenge that they're facing. So this is when we offer some ideas that we will gain, and you will gain these over the years from different patients. So you learn a lot from patients, and what you will do is pick up ideas of the person saying, well, actually, what I did was this. And I found this really helpful. And this is some of the things that you see going on in group education sometimes. If someone's made a change, they found a way to do it, and they share their ideas because they're really pleased that they've managed to change it. But in a one-to-one, we might want to offer some ideas, but with permission. So what I often see in people is that they just leap in and immediately start telling someone, "Oh, well, if I were you, I'd do this," but you're not them. So offering it as something that another patient has come up with, or another person in their situation, makes it a little bit more neutral, a little bit less expert-led. It's talking about people who are in your position, people who, are experiencing the kind of things you're experiencing. So we can offer some suggestions. Would it help if I shared with you some ideas of what other people do in this situation? And then, of the ideas I've shared, I wonder if any of those you could apply to you. So you aren't saying, well, other people have done it like this and I think that would work for you. You are offering them ideas and seeing what works for them. So there will be lots of ideas that you have, that some that you might have actually picked up yourself, or some that you will have picked up from other people, and be willing to share those, but only with permission. So our consent is really important again, that we don't overwhelm people with ideas. So I'd be very careful to only offer one or two. Do any of those kind of relate? Well, have you, might there be other ideas that you might have? So don't overwhelm them with 15 different ways that you can decrease your fat intake. You need to be thinking about offering a chunk of information and then checking what they make of that. Chunks, checks, rather than a lot of information. So the problem solving can happen at any part during your consultation. It may be required when we're looking at goals and trying to encourage behaviour change, but what that could mean is around any area of the consultation. So any area of difficulty. So some people have no clue about menu planning, and how they would go about thinking about what they're going to eat during the week. They may be people who just go with the flow on the day. And that may not be ideal when you've got a medical condition to manage. So it could be something like that. It could be something about shopping and making sure that people don't buy things that they really shouldn't be eating. It can be about food preparation. So in some cases we may have access to cook and eat classes for people without many cooking skills. We might want to provide them with some written information, with some recipe ideas that are going to be suitable for them. We might want to suggest they look at a website. I don't know, for such as Diabetes UK or Celiac UK, so that they can get some ideas from other people. They may need to help thinking with food choice. If you look at something like celiac disease, where you're taking away so many foods that people normally eat, they may need more help to think about what I can eat and what can I choose. Or if I was in a restaurant and I've got celiac disease, what could I choose? It might be that they're dealing with difficult food scenarios, holidays, celebrations, religious festivals, business lunches. There's so many different things that might be difficult for people. And many people eat due to emotions, and the triggers for eating can be difficult emotional situations, boredom, distress, depression, all of those things that people might struggle with. And we may have situations where people have saboteurs. And what I mean by that is that their partner or family or people they live with are not supportive and will do everything in their power to try and just play down the importance of the diet. Let's not worry about it, or you're fussing too much about your diet. You don't need to worry, your weight's fine. And so people are just, maybe not deliberately, but in some way they are acting as a saboteur, and they are not supporting that person. So we might need to be thinking about identifying sources of support in those kind of situations. The other thing is that simply we have got into the habit of doing things, and changing habits is hard. We all have habits, the way that we do things, and they may not be bad for our health, but some of them may. So we've got to try and work through. These are just a handful of areas where people may be struggling with their need to change and we might be able to help them in that.